Coming up on today's show, Jarrett Stidham, is he waiting in the wings and has a bigger role than just a clipboard holder, backup quarterback? I don't know. Sean Payton's comments sort of indicate that could be the case. Then, potentially new uniforms coming for the Broncos. We're going to look at the comments made from Broncos president Leash. Also, could we see Latavius Murray and Kareem Jackson return after their one-year contracts expired? All that coming up on today's show. But before we really jump into anything, we are in the midst of a sub-battle this week amongst all of our AFC West teams here at Chat Sports, the Broncos Breakdown, the Chiefs Report, and the Raiders Report. Now, we are currently second, barely ahead of the Chiefs, which is good to say because that's something we have not been able to say for too long now, but a hair behind the Raiders as well. So if you're competitive and you want Denver to not only beat the crap out of the Chiefs and the Raiders in 2023, help us get the first win, the first, battle victory of the 2023 season right now in the walls of Chat Sports by getting the most subscribers this week. Now, let's talk about Jarrett Stidham. So, Sean Payton spoke very highly of Stidham to the media on Monday, which you usually don't spend time talking about the backup quarterback, right? Whenever the backup quarterback gets some airtime, that usually indicates one of two things. One, the starter is hurt, or two, the starter is not going to be the starter for much longer. So we're going to look at some quotes on that in just a second, but Payton said he could become an NFL starter in our league. This is high praise, right? And this is a guy they also gave 2 years, $10 million to. That's a very expensive clipboard holder. To me, it sounds like the Broncos have more plans for Jarrett Stidham than just plan B emergency quarterback in case something pops up. Like I said, 2 years, $10 million. So what does this mean for Russell Wilson, right? Is Russell Wilson on a short leash? Well, let's first start the conversation with what Jarrett Stidham did last year. The former fourth-round pick out of Auburn for the New England Patriots back in 2019. He made 2 starts last year for the Raiders when they decided to move on from Derek Carr. He looked better than I thought he would. 656 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, yeah, those aren't glamorous numbers, but they're way better than what Brett Rippon did when he filled in. No offense, Brett, but Jarrett Stidham, I definitely think exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Now, here's what Sean Payton said on Stidham. I think he's young, but I think he's someone that we had a good grade on. We had a good grade on coming out. We liked the player. I think he played well in the 2 starts he had. If you study closely the San Francisco game, he's smart at the line of scrimmage. There were a couple directions really with that position. There were a handful of number 2s that either I had worked with or we felt comfortable with. But in this case, I think it's a number 2 where his arrow is moving in a direction where we feel like he can become an NFL starter in our league. And so, quietly, that was an important signing for us. Anyone else starting to get the sense right now that Russell Wilson's leash might be a bit shorter than it was last year with Hackett? Hackett was terrified to bench Russell Wilson because he had so many fires he had to put out. He didn't want to start a brand new one of, yep, I know we just traded for him, and I know that you guys gave him a bunch of money, but I'm benching him. No, Russell Wilson more or less had free range because, it's not like Hackett was going to deal with that huge project of benching Russell Wilson. So now you get Jarrett Stidham, right, where it sounds like it's more than just a backup here, right? Those are very high-praising words for a backup quarterback, right? And for, Sean Payton to talk about film he looked at against the San Francisco game, like the guy's spending a lot of time and effort looking into just a backup, maybe not just a backup. Now, Russ last season, when you look at his stats in 15 games, looking back at it now, he was not good. There was a lot wrong with last year, and a lot of it should and could be put on Hackett's shoulders. 3,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. If you just asked me to rattle off his stats last year, I probably would have done worse numbers, but those still aren't good if we're being honest. So, with that being said, the question I have for everyone watching right now is, will Stidham start in 2023? Right? Ignore injuries, because that's just a loophole. Will there be a point where Sean Payton comes out and says, we are starting Jarrett Stidham, right? Predict it for me. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Hard to rule it out as a possibility right now. The way Russ played last year, Sean Payton is not really saying a bunch of glamorous stuff about his starting quarterback compared to his backup quarterback. Okay, next up on the show, let's talk about the possibility briefly of new uniforms coming for the Broncos. So I've got a picture on screen right now of an artist's rendition of potential new uniforms for Denver. It's just ideas. These are not actual team-approved possibilities, just some potential sketches of what could be some new uniforms for Denver. Here's what Leash said, the new team president, on uniform changes. We continue to research it. We continue to work internally with our creative team and with Nike to explore the possibility for the future. It's a long process, so we're being patient with it and making great progress. Now, team reporter Eric Delilah also tweeted out this. Eric said, Leash on the possibility of the Broncos wearing an alternate helmet in 2023. That's something we're definitely exploring, and we do have the possibility of doing it this year. I'll give you my take on whether or not the Broncos should explore new uniforms in just a second. But I do have this for you guys here. The 2023 draft hats are out. So if you want new uniforms or you don't, but you definitely like these draft hats, we've got them for you guys over at Fanatics exclusively. When you go to chatsports.com/Broncos draft, that link's in the comments and the description of today's show. I'm a big fan of the draft hats this year. I feel like every year people tend to rip them a new one. I don't know. I kind of like these draft hats. I vibe with them. All right, getting back to the uniforms, though. This has been a very popular rendition or artist idea of what they could do. Dope picture of Justin Simmons, and then look at them in different, home and away and, neutral. You've got the orange on white, the white on white, the blue on blue, the orange on orange. Would you rather have those uniforms or the current ones? I'll be honest, those are pretty fresh. Those are pretty cool. Not going to lie. The Broncos, in my opinion, they could benefit from a new uniform change, right? Things have gotten relatively stale the last eight or so years. And I'm not saying this as hey, anytime a team hits a rut for almost a decade, get new uniforms. But when the team hits a rut and the players last year were opting to do different uniform combinations that have never been done before, and the uniforms themselves are already a bit meh and bland, yeah, I have no real qualms with spicing things up, getting a different uniform on the shelf. So let me know, do you want new uniforms? Type N for New Jerseys or the state, or P for pass. Let me know. I just realized that now. New Jersey or pass, better state. I'm going with the New Jerseys, right? I'd like to see some new uniforms come in. If they look like the ones we just saw, but new uniforms does come with the risk of, if they suck, that's a problem, because there's no undoing. There's no Command Z if Nike comes out and they're like, these are your uniforms, and you're screwed. All right, now let's talk about a potential reunion here. Latavius Murray, right? The unsung hero of last season, 760 yards, 6 touchdowns, filling in for Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. We got a new Broncos beat reporter, by the way. Chris Tomasin, I hope I pronounced that correctly. He was a Vikings reporter. Now he's a Broncos reporter. He tweeted out, as Broncos wait for running back Javonte Williams' return, GM George Paton said, Samaje Perine, he can be a starter. He's good on first, second down. He's good on third down. He has really good hands. He's solid in protection, and we like Latavius. We'll see where that goes. So that's all we got from George. We'll see. So sounding like they will, I'm guessing Latavius Murray will be happy for a vet minimum reunion, because otherwise he's going to be out of the league. As for Denver, I don't know if they're waiting to see something from Samaje Perine, or if they're just focusing on the draft and they know they've got that in their back pocket. Speaking of other possible returns, what about Kareem Jackson? Could K-Jack be coming back to the Broncos? So the starting safety last year, 94 tackles, 0 interceptions, and 3 pass breakups. Here's what George Paton said on K-Jack. He's still in the mix. We have some things to work out, but we're talking to his people. It's very similar to last year, except it was a different running back, but the same safety, right? K-Jack and Melvin Gordon. Both guys eventually were re-signed. Wouldn't be shocked if they go the same route this year. So pick one player to bring back, though. If you could only have one, who would it be? Latavius Murray or Kareem Jackson? I lean Latavius Murray because outside of Pirine, there's not much there at the running back position. As for safety, I'm a big Caden Stearns fan. Now, the hip surgery he had last year, I wonder if it's not a smooth recovery at the moment, and that's why they're really focusing on safety like they were in free agency reportedly. So I'm going to go with Latavius Murray as long as he does not fumble the football, which really goes for any running back. He's got a spot on the Broncos roster.